Shah on the throne. He became Sultan under the title Jalaluddin in 1219 AD, and thus the slave dynasty came to an end. The Khalji dynasty. Jalaluddin was a mild and generous ruler, but he put down several revolts. He also repulsed the attacks of Mongols who invaded India in 1292 AD. Jalaluddin was murdered by his nephew Alauddin Khalzi, and his rule came to a tragic end. Alauddin ascended the throne in 1296 AD and started his campaigns soon after. In 1297, he attacked Gujarat, and his generals Ulugh Khan and Nusrat Khan defeated the ruler Raja Karim. Alauddin conquered subsequently Ranthambore, Chittor and Malwa by 1305 and turned his attention towards the Deccan after this. He entrusted the task of Deccan to his able general Malik Kafur. Malik Kafur first of all marched against Devagiri, defeated the ruler and captured Deval. Next, he conquered Warangal, Dwarsamudra and Madurai. He is said to have reached as far as Rameswaram. Alauddin also dealt with Mongols with an iron hand. He personally marched against the Mongol leader Kutlug Khwaja and defeated him. Alauddin was a great administrator and carried out many reforms to stop the recurring revolts. He put great checks on the nobles. He forbade the use of wine, organizing parties among nobles, and marriages without his permission. He also organized an efficient spy system and reorganized his army. But the most remarkable of Alauddin's reforms was that of market regulations. The purpose of those reforms was to benefit the army to compensate its low wages. The state's share was increased to half of the land produce. The land revenue was received in kind, and the grain was stored in royal granaries where it was used in time of need. A check on the market was kept by two officers, Diwan-e-Riyasat and Shah-e-Mandi. Alauddin also introduced price controls covering almost every item, from food grains to horses, from cattle and slaves to costly cloth. In discharge of his duties, he set aside the supremacy of ulemas and issued orders independently. Alauddin was also a patron of learning and art. The poets like Amir Khusrau and Mir Hasan Dehlvi enjoyed his patronage. He built a new city called Siri. He also built the Jamaat Khana Masjid at the Dargah of Nizamuddin Ulia and Alai Darwaza near the famous Qutub Minar. Alauddin Khalzi died in 1316 AD, and his death led to usual murderous scramble for power. The Tughlaq dynasty from 1320 to 1412 AD. Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq was the governor of Punjab who was elected by the nobles to occupy the vacant throne after Alauddin Khalzi's rule. He started the Tughlaq dynasty in 1320 AD. Ghiyasuddin restored order everywhere and built a strong fort near Delhi called Tughlaqabad. He strengthened defences of northwestern frontier to guard against the recurring dangers of Mughal inroads. He conquered Warangal and put down the revolt in Bengal by 1324. The Sultanate's power reached up to Madurai. Ghiyasuddin died in 1325 AD after a fall from a high-rised pavilion. Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Muhammad bin Tughlaq ascended the throne in 1325 AD after the death of his father Ghiyasuddin. He introduced many administrative reforms, although many of them failed due to his impatience. Muhammad Tughlaq tried to improve the revenue department by ordering the compilation of a register of revenue and expenditure of the provinces. He increased taxation in Doab in order to increase his resources, but the people smarting under a famine revolted and the measure had to be withdrawn. Muhammad bin Tughlaq created an agricultural department called the Diwan-e-Kohi. The main object of this department was to bring uncultivated land under cultivation by giving direct financial support from the treasury. But unfortunately, this measure too could not be implemented effectively. The other major political decision taken by Muhammad bin Tughlaq was to transfer the capital from Delhi to Devagiri in Deccan, which was renamed Daulatabad. There were politically wise reasons for this. It could have made the capital more centrally located. It was also not near to the northwest frontier, which was constantly under attack by the Mongols, and it could also establish stability in the Deccan, which was of recent conquest. However, this move also failed miserably. It was not possible to transfer huge machinery of state to another region. Besides, the population of Delhi was not willing to move to Devagiri. The other well-mooted but failed experiment of Tughlaq was monetary experiment. He ordered vast quantity of coins to be made with the same value as silver coins. But he did nothing to curb its private and unauthorized issue, and thus the issue of copper coins became the will of any individual. He led 2 expeditions to conquer Khorasan and Khawarazm, but both failed. Muhammad bin Tughlaq was a generous and learned man, and although religious, but he was free from bigotry. He knew Arabic and Persian and discussed philosophy, astronomy, logic, and mathematics. He was also a good calligrapher and maintained good relationships with foreigners. He received an envoy from Chinese ruler Timur and in turn sent Ibn Battuta to the Chinese emperor in 1347 AD. Ibn Battuta was a Moorish traveller who came to India in 1333 AD and was appointed Chief Qazi of Delhi by Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He has left an invaluable account of Muhammad bin Tughlaq's reign. He recorded his adventures in a book called Safarnama. Firoz Shah Tughlaq. Firoz Shah Tughlaq was cousin of Muhammad bin Tughlaq and ascended the throne in 1351 AD when Muhammad bin Tughlaq died. Firoz Shah was of merciful and pious disposition. He developed agriculture by reclamation of wastelands and by providing irrigation facilities. He reduced taxation to the limits prescribed by the Quran. He also mitigated severity of criminal law by abolishing torture and mutilation as a form of punishment. He also established a charitable hospital in Delhi called the Diwan-e-Khairat. Firoz Shah built a new capital at Delhi and named it Firozabad. He also founded the cities of Hisar, Fatehabad, Firozpur and Jaunpur. He also built the Kali Masjid and Lal Gumbad and brought 2 Ashoka pillars to Delhi, one from Khizarabad and the other from Meerut. Firoz Shah authored a book called Futuhat-e-Furshahi. On the negative side of the Firoz Shah rule, he is said to be intolerant towards subjects of other religions. He was the first Muslim sultan to impose jizya on the Brahmins and got the painted murals in his palace erased. He is also held responsible for the fall of the Tughlaq dynasty as he was a weak general and ruler. He revived the Jagir system or grant of land to military officers with its revenue. It is said to have proved ruinous to the kingdom. His death was followed by succession wars and only a small area around Delhi remained with the Tughlaqs. Timur's invasion. Amir Timur or Timur-Len was a mighty conqueror from Central Asia. His capital was at Samarkand. He invaded India in 1398. He occupied Delhi and remained there for 15 days and plundered Delhi mercilessly. The Tughlaq Empire could not recover from such a terrible blow and came to an end in 1412 AD. The Sayyid dynasty. The last ruler of Tughlaq dynasty was Mahmud Tughlaq, not to be confused with Muhammad bin Tughlaq. After Mahmud Tughlaq, Khizr Khan, a viceroy of Timur, assumed the throne in 1414 AD. Khizr Khan was a Sayyid, and this dynasty is called Sayyid dynasty. The rulers of this dynasty neither assumed the title of Sultan nor struck coins in their names. The last ruler, Alauddin Alan Shah, gave up the kingdom to Bahlol Lodi, the Afghan governor of Punjab, in 1452 AD. Thus began the rule of the Lodis. The Lodi dynasty. The Lodi dynasty was the first Afghan or Pathan dynasty. The founder of the dynasty, Bahlol Lodi, was an Afghan noble. The most important event of his reign was the conquest of Jaunpur. He ruled from 1451 AD to 1489 AD. Sikandar Lodi. Sikandar was the second son of Bahlol Lodi, and his real name was Nizam Khan. He was the most capable monarch of the Lodi dynasty. He conquered Bihar and Tirhut. Sikandar had a strict and an impartial administrative policy. He organized an efficient system of espionage. However, he was a religious bigot. He broke the famous Jwalamukhi temple at Nagarkot. His period of rule was from 1489 to 1517 AD. Ibrahim Lodi. Ibrahim Lodi was the eldest son of Sikandar. He ascended the throne in 1517 AD. Ibrahim was not at good terms with his nobles. Some of these nobles turned against him. There were many revolts during his reign. At last, Daulat Khan Lodi, the governor of Punjab, invited Babur, the king of Kabul, to overthrow the Lodi dynasty. Babur seized the opportunity and inflicted a crushing defeat on Ibrahim in the first battle of Panipat in 1526 AD. Thus, the Delhi Sultanate, which lasted for 320 years, came to an end. Socio-economic condition during the Delhi Sultanate period. During the Sultanate period, Muslim nobility was composed of various nationalities like Turks, Afghans, Abyssinians, Egyptians, and Arabs. There were intense hostilities between them. Therefore, this made the rule of the Sultan easier sometimes, who could play on their divisions. Muslim ulemas were a highly influential body. Alauddin Khalji was the first Sultan who checked their pretensions and disregarded their advice. The lower classes of the Muslim consisted of soldiers, clerks, and men employed in trade and industry. Slavery was a popular institution, and slaves were kept both by the sultans and the nobles. But a slave could be freed after a grant by the king, and Iltutmish and Balban were slaves at the beginning of their career. Hindus formed the vast majority of the population, and their society was caste-ridden. Child marriage and seclusion of women became a general practice, and marriage of the widow was unthinkable. The chief source of economy during the period was agriculture, trade, and commerce. Many sultans promoted agriculture as they were aware of its importance. There was widespread commerce, both internal and external. Bengal was the main center of trade with China and Southeast Asia. The balance of trade was usually always in India's favor. Administration. The Delhi Sultanate was a theocracy with Islam as the state religion. The Sultan was an absolute monarch, though he considered himself a deputy of the Khalifa. The Sultan was the chief lawgiver and the final court of appeal. The Wazir was the chief minister of the state. He was in charge of revenue and finance and controlled other departments. His office was known as the Diwan-e-Hazrat. The Diwan-e-Insha managed the correspondence. Religious matters and endowments were dealt by the Diwan-e-Rasalat. The Sadr-ul-Sadr enforced the Islamic rules and regulations. and supervised charity. The head of the judicial department was the chief Qazi, who was styled as the Qazi-ul-Qazat. The task of maintaining peace and order rested with the officials known as the Kotwals, aided by the Muhatsib, who was the chief censor of public morals. The village remained the basic unit of administration. The Sultan committed the provinces to the charge of great nobles. These nobles were called Amils or Muktas. The provinces were divided into shiks, which were in turn divided into parganas. The revenue in the Delhi Sultanate derived mainly from 1. The zakat or religious tax, which was levied only upon well-to-do Muslims. 2. Kharaj was tax on gross produce of lands of non-Muslims. 3. The Ushraf was tax on gross produce of lands held by Muslims. 4. Jizya or poll tax was imposed on adult non-Muslim males. There were other taxes like house tax, grazing tax, octroi, etc. Land revenue was most important source of revenue and was derived from Khalsa or crown lands and Iktas, which were territories granted to officers. Beginnings of Indo-Islamic culture. The cultural mingling of Indo-Islamic culture is evident in the architecture, painting, literature and music of the period. To some extent, it could be seen in religious field too. In architecture, the new features which were brought by the Turkish conquerors were 1. Dome, 2. Lofty towers, 3. The true arc unsupported by the beam, 4. The vault. They also brought with them an expert knowledge of the use of concrete and mortar, which till then had been little used in India. The famous examples of the slave dynasty architecture are Quwwatul Islam Mosque, built by Qutbuddin in Delhi, and the Qutb Minar near the mosque. A famous example from the Khilji period are the tomb of Hazrat Nizamuddin Ulia at Delhi and the Alai Darwaza built by Alauddin Khilji. The Tughlaq buildings are marked by simplicity and sobriety. The buildings are characterized by sloping walls and a dark appearance. Notable monuments from the Tughlaq period are the fort of Tughlaqabad, the tomb of Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq, the fort of Adilabad, etc. The tombs from the Sayyid period show characteristics such as use of blue enamel tiles, the lotus motif covering the dome, free use of guldastas, etc. The tombs from the Lodi period are hard and bare, which shows that the Lodis had limited sources. But some of their buildings show an elegance with the use of enameled tiles. One famous building of the Lodi period is the Moti Ki Masjid, erected by the Prime Minister of Sikandar Lodi. Painting. The Sultanate period painting show an attempt to arrive at a fusion of newly introduced Persian and Indian traditional styles. Many of the illustrated manuscripts show the influence of Jaina and Rajasthani painting styles. In music, the Turks brought with them a number of new musical instruments such as the rabab and sarangi, new musical modes and regulations. The Sultanate king patronized music. Balban encouraged setting up of a society of dancers and musicians. Alauddin Khilji patronized musicians such as Gopal Nayak and Amir Khusrau. Amir Khusrau is also credited with the invention of the sitar. Firoz Shah Tughlaq got the Indian classical work Rag Darpan translated into Persian. Provincial kingdom after Sultanate. The Deccan had broken from the Delhi Sultanate in the reign of Muhammad bin Tughlaq itself. Two main powers arose in Deccan to replace the Sultanate. These were the Bahmani and Vijayanagar kingdoms. These two kingdoms fought with each other during their whole existence. The main causes of conflict between these two kingdoms were 1. Rival claim to Raichur Doab, a fertile land between the Krishna and Tungabhadra river. 2. The desire on the part of Vijayanagar kings to get hold of the Golconda with its mines. And 3. Rivalry in Marathwada. Besides, both kingdoms had ambitious rulers who wanted to control the whole peninsula. The Bahmani kingdom from 1347 to 1526 AD. The Bahmani kingdom was founded in 1347 AD by Hasan Gangu, who had revolted and proclaimed independence from the Sultanate. He assumed the title of Alauddin Bahmani and Bahman Shah. His capital was at Gulbarga. He was succeeded by Muhammad Shah I, who was chiefly involved in wars against Vijayanagar and Warangal. Some other notable rulers of this dynasty were Firoz Shah, who defeated twice Vijayanagar but was defeated at Pangul. Ahmad Shah, who shifted the capital to Bidar, was also known on account of his association with the Sufi saint Gesu Daraj. The Bahmani kingdom saw great expansion under Khwaja Muhammad Gavan, who was minister under two Bahmani kings, Humayun and Muhammad Shah. Muhammad Gavan, in his campaign against Vijayanagar in 1481, reached up to Kanchi and overran the Halol and Goa on the western coast. Muhammad Gavan was Persian by birth and disliked by natives. He was ultimately captured and executed in 1481. The Bahmani kingdom declined in power, and in 1526 Amir Barid usurped the throne. Thus, the Bahmani dynasty came to an end. On the ruins of the Bahmani kingdom, 5 independent kingdoms arose. They were Berar, Bidar, Ahmednagar, Golconda and Bijapur. 1. The Berar kingdom was founded in 1484 AD by Fatullah. He founded Imad Shahi dynasty as he bore the title of Imad ul Mulk. The dynasty lasted about 90 years until 1574 AD, when it was annexed by Ahmednagar. 2. The Bidar became independent around the year 1492 AD under a Turkish officer, Mahmud Shah Bahmani. His son, Amir Barid, openly assumed an independent position in 1525 AD. In about 1609, Bidar was absorbed by Bijapur. 3. Ahmednagar. This kingdom was founded by Malik Ahmad in the year 1490 AD. The dynasty founded by him is known as the Nizam Shahi dynasty. He also founded the city of Ahmednagar and was involved in a long drawn-out warfare with the Mughals. In 1576 AD, Akbar decided to invade Ahmednagar, but the fort was defended by Chand Bibi, who purchased peace by surrendering Berar. But Chand Bibi was murdered by her own officer, and the Mughals annexed Ahmednagar in 1600 AD. Abyssinian minister Malik Ambar recaptured Ahmednagar in 1610 AD. Ahmednagar was finally annexed in 1637 AD by Shah Jahan. 4. Golconda. The kingdom of Golconda was founded by Quli Qutb Shah in 1512 AD. This dynasty is therefore known as the Qutb Shahi dynasty. The first sultan of this dynasty, Qutb Shah, transformed his capital from Warangal to Golconda. The other ruler sultan of this dynasty were Ibrahim Adil Shah and Muhammad Quli. The Golconda was finally annexed to Mughal Empire by Aurangzeb in 1687 AD. 5. Bijapur. Bijapur was the most important of the 5 kingdoms of the Deccan. It was founded by Yusuf Adil Shah, who waged wars against Vijayanagar and its neighbors. But its greatest achievement was the recovery of Goa from the Portuguese commander Albuquerque. During the reign of Ibrahim Adil Shah, the kingdom of Golconda, Bidar and Ahmednagar attacked Bijapur, but it was well defended by its able minister Adil Shah. Ali Adil Shah, whose period was from 1579 to 1626 AD, was perhaps the greatest of the Adil Shahi dynasty. He was a good administrator and introduced a very efficient system of revenue settlement. He was tolerant of all creeds and faiths. Vijayanagar Empire. The origins of the Vijayanagar kingdom are not clear, but according to tradition, the city was founded by the sons of Sangama, called Harihar and Bukka. According to historians, Vijayanagar was founded by Hosala king Veera Bailala III. However, it seems certain that the kingdom owed its origin to a reaction to a devastating Muslim raid threatened to overwhelm the Hindu civilization in southern India. The capital of Vijayanagar kingdom was at Hastinavati or Hampi. The Sangama dynasty. Most of Harihar's and Bukka's life was spent in waging wars against the Bahamani kingdom. Bukka died in 1379 AD and he was succeeded by his son Harihar II. During Harihar II's reign, the whole of South India, including Mysore, Kannara, Tiruchirappalli and Kanchi, were won. After his death, there was a civil war, and finally his son Devaraya I ascended the throne in 1401 AD. Niccolo Conti, the Italian traveller, visited Vijayanagar in 1420. Devaraya II came to the throne in 1422 AD, and in his reign the empire touched the most distant south and even touched the shores of Ceylon. It was during his reign that Persian traveller Abdul Razak visited Vijayanagar. The Sulva dynasty. After 1405 AD, a period of disorder followed under weak rulers, and the Bahamins, king of Orissa, and Pandyas renewed their aggression. Narsimha Sulvar, the governor of Chandragiri, seized the throne in about 1486